Hey there everybody and welcome. Today I am going to present a tutorial for the game Rune Stones, designed by Rune Dorn with art by Dennis Lohausen. I'm going to explain most of the rules of the game as I play it solo. And I'm going to be using a solo variant designed by Trevin. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. BGG user Trevin, Trevin. I'll include a link to Trevin's original solo variant in the notes to this video. I should also point out, however, that I will not only be demonstrating the base game of Rune Stones today, but I will also include the relatively minor additions that are included with its first expansion, Nocturnal Creatures. Obviously, I had to tweak Trevin's solo rule set a little bit in order to accommodate the changes that Nocturnal Creatures adds to the game, and I'll point those out as I go. Rune Stones, at its heart, is a deck-building race to 65 points. And the core of Trevin's design has you, the player, or the solo player in my case, attempting to achieve those 65 points over the course of 30 rounds of play. If you make it to 65 points after 30 rounds, you win. If you don't, well, you get to try again. So even though I'm going to be playing solo today, what you'll be seeing is pretty darn close to what a full multiplayer experience of the game feels like. Essentially, the game has you earning gems over here, green, blue, red, yellow, and white, which are wild. You'll be spending the gems to forge these artifacts here, also of the same colors. This red artifact would cost me 2 red gems to forge. This one would also cost 2 red gems. These are all dealt randomly. This green artifact and this blue artifact will require 3 green gems or 3 blue gems respectively. This yellow artifact would require 4 yellow gems, and this white wild artifact, which is a little different, requires 4 of any color, 4 gems of any color. There's also a resource in the game called ore, and you can spend 3 ore to buy any one of these artifacts in place of having to spend the gems. The core game of Rune Stones consists of 8 basic starting cards, which are numbered 100 through 107, and 68 or so improved cards that I'll be buying and adding to my deck as I play. After all, this is a deck builder. Not only that, but as you'll soon find out, I will also be losing from my deck some of the very cards I went out of my way to purchase, because the game forces you to make decisions about which cards you want to keep, which cards you have to lose. Nocturnal Creatures adds some 16 additional cards to the mix, sporting 4 new card abilities. As I encounter some of those expansion cards today while I play solo, I will indicate which cards are part of the expansion so you know what you won't be getting if you purchase Rune Stones, the base game, without buying Nocturnal Creatures, the expansion. One of the 4 new card abilities has the player choosing and resolving what are called Wisp Tiles. That's what's over here. These 4 Wisp Tiles are on display, and they provide little bonuses along the way. For example, this provides you with 1 wild gem. This one provides you with 2 gems of any color of your choice, with the exception of white. This one gives you 2 points. So little bonuses like that. In addition, there are little markers on the scoring track called night tiles, and the first player to reach that score will have the opportunity to take a wisp tile and resolve it and get a little bump. This is part of the modification that I made to Trevin's solo variant. I've added these wisp tiles to accommodate Nocturnal Creatures. The scoring markers are at 5, 25, and 45. So the first player to reach 5 points will get to take a wisp tile. The first player to reach 25 will also get a Wisp Tile and so forth. The dummy player doesn't really play the game per se. Dummy player does a few things to make it appear that I'm playing against another human player. But I do have the dummy player accumulating 2 points every round. So by the third round, for example, the dummy player will reach 5. And if I don't get to 5 before round 3, then he or she will take the Wisp Tile and from the display, and I'll lose out on that bonus. Whether or not I go for those Wisp Tiles remains to be seen. I'll play that by ear. But first and foremost, my objective today is to show you how the game plays, how it works, so you get a good feel of what it's like to play the game. And this will be a full game pretty much from start to finish. In Trevin solo variant, a dummy player draws cards from the display, randomly steals up to 4 of the available Rune Stones as you play the game, and also with the addition of my changes, as I mentioned, steals Wisp Tiles and little things like that. Interestingly enough, the dummy player will not remove any of these artifacts from the display, forcing new ones to be dealt out, because that would also be reflective of what it feels like to play a game. For example, you know that you could get these red artifacts for 2 red gems, just need a second to get the 2 red gems accumulated, and by the time you get back here, they're gone because your opponent took them from you. Maybe that'll be a future update, we'll see. Obviously, as you can see, I'm not using my actual game pieces to play the game today. If you've watched any of the other, 50 plus videos on my YouTube channel, you know that I like to program the games that I play, and I use my program to demonstrate how the game plays. So my programs not only make it easier for me to demo the game and play it, but they also ensure that I don't inadvertently make a mistake while I'm playing. Such as forgetting a rule, or forgetting to shuffle, or forgetting to advance the round counter, or whatever. Anybody who's played games and filmed and talked at the same time knows how tricky a proposition that can be. Just so you know, I do write these programs for my own personal enjoyment, and for the most part, I don't make them available to the public for obvious intellectual property reasons. Anyway, enough preamble. Let's start the game, and as I go, I will show you all how it works. So it's round 1. Remember, I have 30 rounds, 30 full rounds in order to get to 65 points. This is my score over here, starting at 0. I have started with my deck of 8 basic cards, numbered 100 to 107. I also start with 1 of each color gem. Here you see a green, a blue, a red, a yellow, and 1 white wild gem, which can represent any other color. I am dealt a hand of 4 cards. So the hand that my program has dealt me is this one. Card number 101, card number 100, card 106, and 103. I should point out before I get going that these cards are the left and right side of each of these cards is a mirror image of the cards. Let me lock this on the screen. So what you see on this side is a mirror image of what you see on this side. That's because the cards have been designed with right-handers and left-handers in mind, so that regardless of how you display your hand, whether you use your right hand or your left hand, you'll still be able to see what every card looks like at a glance. On my turn, I can do one of 3 things. The first thing I can do is spend some of my cards to buy better cards from the display. The display is up here. There are 6 cards on display. The first one here costs 4 gems. 4, actually not gems, but 4 magic points, as you'll soon see what those are. These 2 cards cost 3 magic points. These 2 cost 2 magic points, and this one costs 1 magic point. I should point out that I've totally reworked the way the board. This is an image of the board in the game, but it's been adapted to work around my program and make it more convenient for what I do. As I said, on my turn, I can do one of three things, and I can spend some of my cards to buy better cards from the display and add them to my discard pile. So I do that by choosing a set of cards in my hand that all have the same purchasing power along the top. So these little colored dots represent magic points that I can accumulate to spend to buy better cards. But I have to accumulate one color. So I could select this card, for example, and buy 2 magic points worth of cards. But a better move would be to select this card and use their 3 combined magic points to buy better cards. And I can buy more than one card. So, for example, I could buy this card that costs 1 magic point and either of these cards that cost 2, or I could spend all 3 of my magic points and just buy one of these cards. Obviously, with 3 magic points, I cannot afford this card. But as cards get removed from the display, like many games, all the cards will shift over to the right. They'll get cheaper. New cards will fill in from the left. That is actually not what I'm going to do in my first turn of the game, however. That's one of the 3 actions I can do. Another action I can do, which is what I think I'm going to do instead, is I'm going to choose 2 of these cards, not these 2, but I'm going to choose these 2, cards 101 and 100, and I'm going to use them. I'm going to choose them to use their abilities. Every card has an ability along the side. For example, this card gives me 1 ore. This card gives me 2 yellow gems. This card gives me a red or a blue, and this one gives me a green or a red. You can choose 2 cards, use their abilities, but the price you have to pay is that you lose the higher numbered card of the 2 that you choose. So, for example, if I do choose these 2, I will get a green or a red gem. I'll get a red or a blue gem. This card, number 100, being the lower of the 2, will go into my discard pile. Card 101, gone from the game entirely. Now, normally cards that of higher value that I play or choose to use their abilities are discarded in a common discard pile, but these are starter cards. So starter cards, when they're rejected, they're just removed from the game entirely. Once I filter through some of these starter cards and don't have any more in my hand, then you'll see soon enough that there is a common discard pile up here where real cards in the game the better cards in the game will be discarded as I go. But that's the price you pay. You have to choose 2 cards using their abilities, understanding that you're going to lose the higher number and usually the better of the 2 cards. Now, these are starter cards, so the higher number doesn't really necessarily apply in this case. In these improved cards, you'll quickly see that higher number cards tend to be better than lower number cards, at least to a certain extent. I am going to use these 2 abilities, and I'm doing that because I start off with 1 of every colored gem. I want to get some artifacts right away, and so I know I need another red artifact. It would be helpful to get I need another red gem, rather, to get one of these red artifacts, and getting maybe 1 or 2 more greens would help me get this green artifact. So I'm going to use this card. Well, I can choose to either get a green or get a red, and I'm going to use it to take a green. So that's done. And now I'm going to use this card, and I'm going to use it to take a red. Now, once I do that, I've finished, and immediately my program will notice that my turn is over. So we'll put card 100 in my discard pile. My personal discard pile is over here. Card 101 will be removed from the game. I will keep 106 and 103 in my hand, and then I'll be dealt. I'll have my hand refilled back up to 4 cards. So let's take a red gem now as part of this card's ability. And there we go. Now we're into round 2. You'll notice that the dummy player has accumulated 2 points. Every round, at the end of every round, the dummy player gets 2 more points. So she is a little bit closer to getting this Wisp Tile at the 5-point marker. Card 100 is now in my discard pile. I have 2 cards still remaining in my deck, and 106 and 103 are still in my hand. I've now been dealt card 105 and 107. That's the way this game works. You either use abilities, you lose the higher numbered card when you do that. Alternatively, you choose an action whereby you select a couple cards and then buy one or more new cards from the display, or you spend a turn buying up to 2 artifacts in one turn and then optionally trading them in order to get a Rune Stone, which provides you with big special rule-breaking abilities in the game. That's the aim of the game. You're trading gems to get artifacts. You're trading artifacts to get Rune Stones, and you're doing all this in order to get to 65 points before your opponents get there. We're here in round 2, and now that I bought this, got this green gem and this red gem added to my supply, I am going to use them to buy my first 2 artifacts, forge in the language of the game, I should say. I'm going to forge this green artifact for 3. That's going to require that I spend these 2 green and this 1 wild. Now, when I forge these 3 artifacts, the 2 that require 3 gems and the 1 that requires 4 gems of the color, I do get a special bonus if I do spend gems to forge those artifacts. This one provides me a roll of the die, which will give me some little bonus. This one gives me 1 ore. Remember, I can spend 3 ore to forge an artifact instead of having to spend gems. And this one lets me score 3 points. I am going to go ahead and forge this green artifact. This is going to cost me, as I said, 2 greens and a wild, and I'll get a roll of the die that will give me some benefit. My green artifact, and I got an ore, so now I have 1 ore in addition to whatever gems I have remaining. This is my player board over here. I have 2 rows where I could store 5 artifacts per row, 1 of every color. And I will be spending 1 row's worth of artifacts in order to score points, as I said, and then optionally to take a Rune Stone and get some points. Now, that was the first artifact that I forged. I'm also going to forge this one over here that costs 2 reds. I have 2 reds to pay for it. This won't give me any sort of bonus. That represents the 2 artifacts that I could forge during my turn. You can't forge more than that. But now I do have the option of trading that row of artifacts these 2 artifacts, in order to get a Rune Stone. Now, and to get some points. If I trade now, if I exchange now and exchange these 2 artifacts for a Rune Stone or points, I will get 3 points. If I wait until I have, say, 3 or 4 artifacts in a row, I'll score 6 or 10 points respectively. If I wait until I have a full row of artifacts, I'll score 15 points for that row. The question is, do I want to wait, or do I want to just cash in right now, sacrifice a lot of points, but get a big rule-breaking ability sooner rather than later? And I think that's what I want to do. That's what I've been planning to do. So I am going to exchange these 2 artifacts. That's going to give me 3 points. And now I get to choose a Rune Stone, and I can have up to 4 Rune Stones. This will be the first of my 4. I'm going to take this one. This one causes my hand size to go from 4 cards to 6 cards, which is obviously going to expand my options greatly. I'll look at what some of these other runestones do as we play along. Just know that when I'm done exchanging artifacts, or for that matter, forging artifacts, whether I buy a runestone or not, Trevin's solo variant has the dummy player rolling a d8, and if that number that comes up on the die has a runestone in it, it steals the runestone as if the opponent took it away from me. Normally there is one runestone per number of players minus one. So this is a two-player game I'm playing, therefore there's one of every runestone. But if I was playing a full four-player game, there'd be three of each type of runestone available. Anyway, I'm going to pick this one, and unless the dummy player rolls a 2, it's going to steal one other runestone. Okay, so it took that one, and that one was a runestone that would let me choose 3 cards and use their abilities instead of choosing 2 cards and using their abilities like I did in my last round. Here we are in round 3. The dummy player now has 4. Unless I score, well, I could score 2 points and get there before the dummy player if I wanted to use this ability. Do I want to do that, or do I want to start buying cards? I have nothing in my deck. I have 1 card in my discard. I have 6 cards in hand, so I have a total of 7 cards. I started with 8, and I've lost 1, so now I'm down to 7. I think I could get that Wisp, and I could get 2 gems of any color. But I'm going to demonstrate what the first action does, and just understand that I'm not necessarily playing to win here, so maybe if I were playing more competitively and trying to win, I might go for that Wisp tile. But for the moment, I think I just want to demonstrate how you buy new cards. So I'm going to choose select this blue card that has 2 magic points, this card that has 1 magic point in blue. Remember, the colors have to be matching, or you have to have a wild, and I do have a wild over here. That's what this is. So that will give me a total of 4 magic points to spend. And now, what cards do I want to buy? I could buy these 2, or 1 and 1. I usually like to buy cards of the same color, but, for example, 2 red cards, because the more cards you have of a single color, the more magic points, the odds are the more magic points you'll have available to you down the road. But in this case, with only 4 magic points, I think I'm going to take these 2 cards. These each cost 2 magic points. I'm going to take this one. These go right to my discard pile. And this one, which goes right to my discard pile. You can see these are lower number cards, lower numbered than my starting cards, but we'll see how long they stay in my discard pile. So they're in my discard pile now, and I just had to shuffle my hand because I have a hand size of 6, and lo and behold, there's number 31 already in my hand. The other cards are still in my deck. I have 3 cards in my deck, face down. Okay, well, the dummy player did get to 5 in that round and did steal a Wisp tile. I didn't even notice, but so be it. I'm not going to compete as far as those Wisp tiles are concerned. All right, it's round 4. Oh, I would like to get dragon cards are especially nice, but I don't know if I have enough. I could spend this one and this one and this one for a total of 4 magic points. And I could buy this card and this card. This is one of the new cards that comes in the set of Nocturnal Creatures. They're called Banshee Cards. This one lets you steal a yellow gem from each one of your opponents. Now, because I'm not playing against any opponents, I have modified the ability of this card to just take 2 yellow gems. as if I were playing a 3-player game and I played it when each of my opponents had a yellow gem. That might be a little aggressive, but maybe I should have only taken one yellow gem. But I think the Banshee cards are intended to be more powerful than your typical cards. As you can see, they're higher numbered, so that you tend to lose them from your hand pretty quickly. I think I do want this, which means I can then spend 2 to get this, which means I don't need this card. I'm only going to be spending 3. I'm going to take this card to get 2 yellow gems, and I'm going to take this one, which will give me a red gem and a wild gem. Yeah, I'm going to buy those 2. Okay. Now we're in round 5. I should point out that when I choose to take cards from the display, they are then shifted to the right, new cards come out to the display, and then the dummy player immediately removes the cards that I chose from the same positions. So, for example, in that case, I chose this card and the card that was in this position and this position. The dummy player refills the display, removes those 2 cards and discards them. That's why a bunch of 4 cards have already been discarded up here, and then refills the display a second time. So that, again, is to mimic what an opposing player might do in terms of taking cards away from the display that you might otherwise might have wanted to purchase. I am going to start using cards again now that I've bought a few. I'm going to use this new one, 31. It's nice because it gives me a blue gem and a blue card from the display. There's only one card that I can take, this one. And it's number 31, but if I couple it with one of my starting cards, I'll lose the starting card but get to keep the better of the 2 cards. And I'm going to couple it with this one over here that gives me a gem of any color, number 107. Okay, so I'm going to use this ability. This will give me a blue gem and that blue card. In fact, it'll probably just give it to me. It won't even let me choose it. Yeah, because there was only one card. I'm going to use this card to take a gem of any color, and I think I have 2 blue, which will allow me to get this artifact. I think I'll take a red. So use this ability, and I'll choose a red one. That's still not enough to buy that second artifact. Okay, well, we'll fix that right now. We'll use this card, 55, which gives me a red gem and a roll of the die, and couple it with card 103, which gives me 2 yellow gems. I think I have something in mind here. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to use this. I got my red gem. I get another gem of any color. I am going to take a yellow gem. You'll see why in a moment. That's for the bonus from the die roll. And now I'm going to use this card to get 2 more yellow gems. I'm going to lose card 103. 55 will go into my discard pile. It's round 7. I'm almost a quarter of the way, and I have 3 points. So I don't know how well I'm going to do today, but well, I'll try to get close at least. So I'm going to forge this blue artifact with the 2 blues that I have. I'm going to forge this red artifact with the 2 reds that I have. Those are the 2 that I could buy in one turn. And now I could just end the turn and go about my business, or I could choose to take another Rune Stone. I'd be foregoing a lot of points, but I would be getting a big rule breaker early on, and I am going to do that because what I had in mind by collecting all these yellow gems is so I got 3 more points. I'm now at 6. I'm going to take, where are you? This Rune Stone. This one lets me assign another wild color to for the rest of the game. So like I said, these are really powerful Rune Stones. So I'm going to take that one. Oh, okay, so the dummy player took that one, which I think was every time a card ability lets you score 1 or more points, score an additional point. So, for example, with that ability, if I had that Rune Stone with this card, if I played it, I would get 3 points instead of 2. But I chose this Rune Stone, which lets me assign a new wild color. And I'm going to do that right now. I could wait, but the reason I accumulated these 4 yellows is because my plan was to make yellow wild in addition to white. So I am going to do that. And now yellow for the rest of my game is going to be a wild color. I cannot change that. When you're playing the game, you take a gem from the supply and you put it on top of this Rune Stone to indicate what color your new wild color is. But in my case, my program just labels it as such. Okay, so it's round 8. I've got a clear player board again, but I've got these 4 wilds, and I'm going to use them to forge this artifact for 2 red gems by spending 2 yellows. And I'll forge this one just to spend 2 yellows to forge this artifact. So again, I could potentially get a 3rd Rune Stone, but it is round 8. And I am not accumulating points terribly quickly. I am giving up points, mind you, in exchange for these better abilities. So I'm going to end my turn and try to see if I can get a full row and get some real points chalked up. So we're going into round 9. Let's see. I do have potentially 6 magic points here to spend, but I do have an ore. I could get an ore here. Let's spend them and see what we can get. So that's 6 magic points. This is one of the new Nocturnal Creatures, Banshees cards that lets me resolve a Wisp Tile. I could buy that one and then maybe one of these, or I could buy, well, I could buy these 3 reds. Yeah, I will buy those 3 reds from the display. That's 3, 5, 6 magic points. Ooh, now I've got another 6 magic points I could potentially spend. But I do want to get cooking here. Let's see. If I spend these 2, I get a blue card, which is pretty nice, and 2 blue gems. I am going to spend these 2 and use them to get this card and a blue gem. And I'll use this card to get a blue gem. I have my eye on this artifact over here. And then card 102 will be gone from my deck. So that gives me enough to forge this artifact, but if I have the ability to forge 2 in one hand, I want to be able to do it. This one gives me 2 yellows, like I said, and if I couple it with one of my starting cards like this one, I won't lose it right away. So I will use this to get an ore, and I'll use this to get 2 yellows. And should I start forging now with those yellows? I don't have a wild here to use this. That's 3, 5 magic points to spend, which would get me this dragon. Dragons are really nice. They're higher numbered cards, and but they do give you nice abilities. This one just lets me take 2 cards from the display when I use it. And this one would give me a yellow. Yeah, I think I'm going to spend these cards, get 5 magic points to buy this card. Oh, I can't get this one. I might have waited a turn. Oh well. All right, I'll take that one. Well, I'm chalking up a lot of these reds, so now I've got, what is this, 8 magic points potentially to spend. But let's see. I'm going to take these two and use them. I'll lose card 68. It'll go into this discard pile now. Or should I use this one? Maybe I'll use that one. I'll take the wild from this one and use it to discard it and get 3 gems in place. Obviously, you can use the cards in any order you want. Oh, there was 25. The dummy player just got there, took another Wisp Tile. We're almost halfway there. I've got to start cooking here. So let's forge this blue artifact. And we'll forge this green one using a green gem and a wild yellow. Those are the two. I can't forge another one this turn. I can cash these in for 10 points and a Rune Stone, or I can wait. I think I'll wait. Oh, just stole another Rune Stone. I didn't see which one it was. Suffice to say, it was probably very good. Okay, I need to get an ore. I don't see a way to do it. So I am going to probably have to spend 4 of any resource to get this Rune Stone. The artifact, rather. I've got a bunch of Rune Stones, so and then I could buy a red. So I'm going to use this card. And I'll use this card. Maybe I'll roll the die again and see what I get. So I'll take 2 red gems. I'll take a red gem and a roll the die. Got another ore. That's perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to forge this white one by spending 3 ore. And I will forge another one just because I can. So I guess I'll forge, and I'll put it in my second row, obviously. I'll forge this red one, which will get me a roll of the die. I'm just going to spend 3 red gems. Got 1 point out of it. So that red artifact went into my second row, but now I'm going to exchange these 5 to get 15 points and another Rune Stone. The Rune Stone I want is this one. This one says that anytime you have a card that gives you an ability where you have a choice of one thing or the other, this gives you both automatically. So I'm going to take that Rune Stone. That's my 3rd Rune Stone now. It's round 17. I've got 22 points. I'm a third of the way there. I've got a ways to go. Let's see. I've got 5, 6, 12 cards in hand. There are no red artifacts on the display. But I do have a red artifact down here. I could use this one and maybe couple it with this one, which will now give me both a red and a blue gem. That's nice. So I'll use that. And I'll take a yellow gem because it's wild as my for purposes of that ability, and now I'll use this to get both a red and a blue gem. As you can see, I still have 2 cards from my starting hand still hanging around, but most of them are gone. So I think I'll forge some artifacts here. Let me forge this one for 2. And I'll forge this one for 3. And I got a point out of it. Got 3 artifacts. I'm going to hold off in the turn. Kind of in a rush now. I have no ore, so I need a plethora of gems. I have no wild. Maybe I'll do this card and this card just to get some cards into my deck, but also getting some points at the same time. So I'll take 2 points here, and I'll take 2 cards from the display here. This one, discard 2 blue gems for 3 points. This plays into my special ability. This gives me a Wisp Tile. This gives me ore. I could use the ore. I don't know if I like those cards otherwise, though. I think I'll take this one and this one. Okay, round 20. It's yellow now. It's warning me. Okay, this one gives me 2 yellows. That's always nice. This one will keep me from losing that card. So I'll use this card, roll the die, get a point. Use this one to get 2 yellows. I'm not accumulating gems as quickly as I'd like to. Okay, I'm going to play these 2. Oh, take either one. Okay, so this one is a new Banshee card as well. This lets me take a card from the discard pile and add it to my own personal discard pile. So maybe I'll grab that one. And I'll grab this one that gives me some ore. Whoop, nope, I only got 1 red card, sorry. And this one gives me a red gem and a point. That's enough to... Oh, I don't need a red artifact, do I? I need a green and a white. I could do it. Yeah, maybe I will because I'm in a hurry here. So I'll take the green. I'll spend 2 wilds for that. And I'll take the white. Okay, it does work. And I'll just spend 4 gems of any color. I'll just spend all 4 of my reds. And now I'll quickly exchange these for 15 points. And I get a last Rune Stone. This gives me 2 magic points of buying power over and above what I normally have. It's not the Rune Stone I would want this late in the game, because I'm going to be using cards faster now than I'm going to be buying cards, but I don't have a choice. I got stuck with it. I need to make 20 points really quickly. This one's always nice. I could play it with this one and not lose it. What can I get from this? A card from the display into my discard pile. I'll roll the die on an ore. Or use a card for its ability, an extra card, and then put it back in my discard pile. I do like that. I do want to play these cards so I can get the wild here to turn this into a bunch of gems. Let me play these first. I'll use this one. I'm going to lose it, but it'll give me a red and a white. And I'll use this one to trade the white in for a yellow, green, and a blue. It's now round 24. I've got to move. I don't think it's not looking good, folks. I don't want to lose this, but it's virtually the end of the game at this point. Let's use this one for 2 yellows and this one for a wisp, and I'll take a wisp that gives me an ore and a roll of the die. Lets me turn 1 gem into a wild. I'll turn a red into a wild. Okay, I've got to buy artifacts. I'll take this blue for 2. I could take this yellow for 4 and get 3 points, but it cost me 4 gems. Alternatively, I could just spend 2 yellows over here. I don't think I can afford to spend 4 gems right now, so I'll just take this one. And I will end my turn. It's now round 26. I'm out of gems. Well, I've got enough to forge 1 artifact, but that's not enough. This gives me 2 reds. This one gives, I'll take this card and this card. I'm just using cards now. I'm bottoming out my deck, basically. So I'm going to use that one to get a green and a yellow. This one to get 2 reds. With that, I can forge this one for 2 greens. And this one for 3 reds with a wild included. I get to roll the die. Gives me a gem of any color. I'll take a yellow. It's round 27. I need a white. I'm going to hold off, but I basically lost at this point. It's now round 28. Oh, I shouldn't have spent that white gem, should I? I should have spent the yellow instead. But I'll take... I just take 2 yellow gems and couple it with these 2. That gives me enough to buy that one for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That gives me 5. I could buy 1 more artifact. I'll buy this green for 2. I'll exchange these for 15 points. It's now the last round. I've got 57 points. 1 gem. I've lost. Which I kind of expected. It doesn't really matter what I do here. In fact, well, I'll use this card that gets me a card from the display, from the discard pile. I haven't used this one yet. So I'll use that card, and I'll use this card that gets me 2 gems. I'll use that to get a blue and a yellow. And I'll use this. Not that this matters at this point, because I'm not going to be able to use the card, but I'll use it to get this card back, 82. Comes back into my discard pile, but the game's over. I've lost with a score of 57, so I was 8 points shy, but that should show you how Rune Stone plays. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Like the solo variant, look in the show notes to see how Trevin's solo variant works. I highly encourage it, and thanks for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.